Let's talk about the placebo effect. In some cases, taking a pill of pure sugar will stimulate healing of a disease which is 30% as effective as the actual drug. Maybe we should call it the placebo power. What the placebo effect implies is that your mind has so much untapped power that you aren't even aware of. What if we were able to harness that power? What if we were able to harness even a fraction of that power? Would we be better leaders in business? Our independent study explores the impact of meditation on business leadership.
What do Steve Jobs, Ray Dalio, Bill George, Mark Benioff, and Phil Jackson have in common? They're visionaries, have been known to lead and inspire teams, and have achieved significant success in their professional lives. But they have one more thing in common: meditation.
According to Michael Carroll, author of Awake at Work, and Arthur Zaonk, author of Meditation as Contemplative Inquiry, Sun Tzu teaches that the warrior leader must be relaxed and open to the present moment at all times. The more at ease the warrior is with the situation at hand, the more open and powerful and fearless he or she becomes as a leader. Sun Tzu's instruction on engaging the extraordinary is to first know oneself, and through that knowing to work directly with conflict, appreciate the immediate moment, and let natural intelligence arise. Therefore, it is not surprising that when meditative schooling first made its way to the West from Asia, one of the first groups to take advantage of it was the Mossad, Israel's version of the CIA. The usefulness of the samadhi, or single-pointed attention, to them was obvious. Since then, many military organizations, basketball teams, and businesses have used contemplative methods to enhance performance and reduce stress.
Our independent study looks at meditation from a business perspective and focuses on 5 potential benefits of meditation. We started with 5 hypotheses: increasing self-awareness, one's ability to avoid distractions and stay focused on the task at hand, and increased awareness of emotional triggers, thus enabling you to make more rational decisions, increasing your ability to listen and accept multiple perspectives, and increasing your sense of responsibility for the communities you belong to, thus strengthening your moral compass. Through the study, we discovered 2 more consistent benefits of meditation: allowing you to think outside the box and develop greater capacity, or simply more energy, to do more.
So what is meditation?
Well, according to Michael Carroll, mindfulness in Buddhism and many other spiritual practices is essentially learning to be fully alert and in the present moment.
Really, you just sit, which sounds completely crazy and very simple, but have you tried it? Sitting is deceptively simple. You sit up straight, either in a chair or a cushion on the floor. Your eyes are closed and your hands are placed gently upon your lap. You breathe normally and sit still. Essentially, that's all you have to do. It seems very easy, but a lot goes on. When you sit, what you do is you experience the simple, clear nowness of the sights and sounds and physical sensations around you.
There are many different ways one can meditate. Practices range from merely sitting in silence to martial arts, from chanting mantras to creating sand mandalas, and from vision exercises to journaling. Here are some more thoughts from meditation practitioners we interviewed.
According to Birju Pandya, my definition of meditation has changed over time, from initially being a way to relax and calm the mind to now being a way to recognize wisdom.
In his book, Meditation as Contemplative Inquiry, Arthur Zaonk says, meditation does not mean brooding or self-indulgent musing, but instead practicing a special form of recollection of the past, mindfulness for the present, and envisioning for the future in a manner that is clear and insightful.
I think meditation is achieving a state of mind. The way I look at meditation is, it's a way by which I can reconnect to the inner self. And what I mean by that is, in today's world of external stimuli, we are constantly bombarded from all directions in very many ways. And we are in a way kind of reacting to things around us. So we become defined by the set of actions, activities, and people who we are constantly in touch with. And over time, the more and more we do that, we get into a rut whereby we completely lose our connect or link to the inner self. So meditation is the practice whereby you use your mind and you condition it to retreat back into the self, the inner self. And the more time you spend kind of retreating into that condition, the closer you start reconnecting or realizing the inner you. So that's how I would define meditation.
So as Colleen mentioned, focusing on your inner self helps you break the typical cycle that most people go through in their daily life. Think about it. Don't we often just find ourselves reacting to what's happening externally without really spending much time processing it internally? Meditation helps you break down every experience into 3 pieces. There's the observation piece, the processing piece, and the reaction piece. We tend to spend the least amount of time on the number 2, or the processing piece. But with meditation, as we spend more time processing information and experiences, it gives us the power to have control over situations and not react right away, and therefore situations have less control over us and our emotions. So we organized a mindful leadership program at HBS conducted by the TLEX program. TLEX works with leading corporations and NGOs, including the World Bank, Coca-Cola, Accenture, and BCG. Here's what Poonam Tandon, a thought leader on meditation in the corporate world and respected TLEX teacher, had to say about meditation and breathing techniques.
So we talked about being a mindful leader. Yeah, that's why we're here. But if you think about it, have you ever attempted to just tell yourself to stop worrying or stop being stressed? And does it work? It doesn't work, right? The more you tell your mind, be in the moment. Yeah, John spoke about how important it is to be in the moment. But how many times have you told yourself, no, I'm not going to think about what happened to me in the past. I'm not going to worry about that jerk or that whatever. I'm just going to be here, or my stress is going to be here. And then what happens? The mind's back, isn't it? So how are you supposed to be in the moment? Right now, if I was to tell you, whatever you do not think about yellow monkeys. Just stop thinking of yellow monkeys. What's on your mind? No, just stop. Tell yourself. Did it work? It doesn't work, right? Because there's a law in the mind that what you resist persists. Make sense? You notice this? If you tell yourself not to be stressed, the more it creates more stress. The more you tell yourself, I shouldn't think about this, the more you think about it. In fact, the more you try to find your keys, where did I put my keys? The harder it is, right? How about the more you try to sleep? If you have this big day tomorrow, this big interview, and you say, okay, I'm going to go to bed. And the more effort you put, do you notice that it escapes you? Because there's a law in the mind that says what you resist persists. Can you all say it? What you resist persists. You know, if we can just get this one thing right in our life, we'll save a lot of stress. But the breath, you can do something with. I tell you to stop thinking of yellow monkeys, you couldn't do it. Right now, if I tell you to take a deep breath in, can you all do it? Let's do it. Take a deep breath in. And breathe out. You can do that. Yeah? It's tangible. And as John said, every emotion or state of mind has a corresponding rhythm in the breath. Like anger. Yeah? So if our breath is responding to our thoughts and our emotions, and if anger is going to make our breath like that, yeah? Or how about when you're really happy? How's the breath? Peaceful. You know, you're just on vacation, you graduated, and you're at the beach. You see, it's a long inhalation. How about when you're really sad? Yeah. And we use the breath anyway. If you're really anxious, what do we tell people? Just take a breath. Yeah? We do this because breath is a link between our inner world of silence and our outer world of activity. By using the breath, rather than having our breath just follow our state of mind, we can use the breath to affect our state of mind.
Medically, there are unnumbered benefits of meditating. Better blood pressure, stress reduction, better cholesterol, etc. It's all very interesting. But a lot of people claim the same thing from eating a banana. So what's different? What's more intriguing is Dr. Richard Davidson's research, which shows that meditation causes left-sided anterior activation in the brain, which leads to more positive effect. What that means, in English, is that you have more positive emotions, you have less anxiety, and you feel better, permanently. Furthermore, Dr. Richard Davidson showed that after injecting patients who meditated with the influenza vaccine, those patients are actually able to develop more antibodies than the control group.
A study led by psychologist Sarah Lazar at Harvard Medical School was the first to document meditation-produced changes over time in the brain's gray matter, in areas associated with attention and emotional integration.
In A Powerful Silence, author and social psychologist Daniel Goleman is cited as having outlined some of the most recent dramatic advances in attempts to measure effects of meditation on the brain's functioning. These studies indicate that meditation can actually alter the brain's neural circuitry to better deal with emotions and stress. Medically, there are a lot of proven benefits to meditation, but what does it really mean for a business leader? In an HBR article, Henry Mintzberg, a professor of management studies at McGill, said learning to manage oneself is just as important as learning to manage an organization. We've discovered that learning to manage the self can in fact be a competitive advantage in business.
The experience once you practice is that no matter what you're doing, no matter what aspect of business you're in, it can't help but influence that. So let me give you an example. My work with mergers and acquisitions and other strategic alliances like joint ventures, the experience is that, one, in developing strategy, it brings you to a place where you can arrive at a meeting of the minds with the other partner or the acquiring institution in a way in which is efficient, effective, and there's a sense that everyone got a pretty good deal out of it. But in essence, it's because you've had a meeting of the minds, and what you're doing is you're practicing, you're meditating while that's going on. The other major aspect, which was really important for me in my career, has been very important, is that in negotiating complex multi-million-dollar deals, that you're able to meditate while you're actually undergoing the negotiation. So for me, when I do that, when I'm negotiating any kind of deal, I'm always meditating. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to see the cues that are not stated, which are as important, in fact, more important than what is stated. So when you're negotiating, everything that you see and hear has to be processed in a way which is obviously in real time, but you're so present that you're able to see what the people that you're negotiating with are actually saying and not saying. And when you do that, you're able to anticipate a way of circumventing disagreements or difficulties that may make a negotiation unbelievably long, much more efficient and much shorter. So that's one of the major ways. The other thing is that what happens is that you don't let your ego get in the way. And because you don't let your ego get in the way, you get really good results. And the result being that, in essence, your ability to do this comprises or creates a competitive advantage.
In fact, at Harvard Law School, the Harvard Negotiation Insight Initiative, founded by Erica Fox, teaches mindfulness practices as essential to the art of conflict resolution. Meditation, Fox asserts, is central to achieving the initiative's mission, but is also enabling negotiators to become more successful in getting to a yes.
Well, having meditated since 1975, I've decided that meditation is really key to leadership, and that may sound odd to people, but let me describe it this way. We know that the differentiating factor in leaders' success or failure is not IQ, but it's emotional intelligence. And the core of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. But the question is, and that's what we say in our books, it's been widely accepted now, the good news about emotional intelligence, you actually can improve your emotional intelligence. Dr. Richard Davidson at University of Wisconsin-Madison has proven you can actually improve your emotional intelligence. Your IQ, you really can improve from the age of 10 to 60. It's going to stay pretty much the same. You can get a lot of knowledge, a lot of information, a lot of wisdom, but of course wisdom is more of a matter of the EQ as well. So, but how do you do this?
You know, it's really interesting. Does anybody know the difference between motivation and inspiration? Do you talk about that in your classes? Motivation, in the way that we talk about it, is offering somebody something to fulfill a certain project or quota or whatever. You get a bonus of $100,000 if your unit makes this. Right? But it's a little time sensitive and it doesn't really work after a while. It's like, okay, I got my $100,000. Now what are you going to do for me next year? You have to give them $150,000. What are you going to do? But when you have the ability to inspire people, you know this probably from the Navy. Did you have people underneath you on the submarine? Sorry to pick you out, but you're in my line of vision here. If you can inspire people, really show them a vision and allow them to take off and complete that vision and feel good about it as a team, it's a tremendous skill as a manager. But the first quality to inspiration is what we call belongingness. A feeling of connection to the people that you're working with, and a feeling of like honest trust and I'm there for you and you're there for me. It's a very important quality to develop, but it's hard to develop when you're stressed and you don't have much energy and you feel completely spread out, overspread out, and you don't feel like you're connected to the deepest part of yourself. Do you see that connection? When you're clear, when you're centered, you have more energy, more awareness, people see you, they trust you more, that cultivates belongingness.
Maybe the best way to come at that is when you don't meditate, much of our culture, particularly in high stress, high performance organizations and situations, what we tend to do is we always focus on things outside of ourselves. So it's getting the job done, getting the checklist finished, completing the tasks, meeting with people, completing the objectives, doing the performance reviews. A lot of that stuff is actually quite external to us. It's not an internal process. So what happens is we grow up and we work with this external focus thinking that that's all of reality. But what we ignore is the fact that there's an internal world that exists. And that internal world is, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? How's my body reacting to this particular situation? When I'm meeting with you or meeting with other people or completing my task, what's my awareness of what's going on inside me?
Sure. So the situation is running an equity hedge fund, and we had several large clients, one of whom had been with us for close to a decade, so I knew them well, knew what they liked about us and what frustrated them about us. And they called and they redeemed. They took their money back. And in a small money management firm, we were running about $350 million. That's a big deal, and can sort of creates tremors of frustration in the business. I had, as best I can recall at this time, probably been trying to meditate for 10 or 20 minutes, once a day, for however much time before that, a couple months. And so in this experience felt different perhaps than past experiences in that, when I hung the phone up, I was aware of some very strong feelings, whereas in the past those feelings might have been just as strong, but I couldn't have told you what they were. And at least three of those come to mind. One was I was angry because the thing they were frustrated about, I had been frustrated about. My partner who ran the portfolios, I ran the business, had significant cash in the portfolio, and I was bugging these guys, and so I was angry, why'd you have to do that? I will admit, without, with some shame, I'll admit that I had this feeling of, if there was blame to be placed, I'd like to display, I don't know what you call that emotion, but I'd like it to be somebody else's fault rather than mine. What do you call it, emotion? And I was scared. I have the capacity to sort of sequence a whole host of events that are going to turn out very badly when one thing goes wrong. But so the point was, those three emotions at least were out there in front of me, rather than being somewhere on the walls of my stomach, without size or shape. And rather than making decisions where they were controlling me, and I wouldn't even know it, I was able to lay them out just like I would in meditation, where I'm looking at each one of these feelings and sort of identifying them and setting them down, saying, okay, those are real feelings, and what am I going to do with it? And I think the decisions that I and my partner made were probably better decisions strategically in terms of teamwork and for the business than otherwise, where I said, yeah, I have those, but I don't have to act on those right now. So frankly, I acted quite differently. My main concern was to actually take care of my partner, who would be just as frustrated as I was, and try to support him and frankly support our other employees. And I think the outcome of that was probably pretty good.
On the subject of objectivity, Arthur Zaonk goes on to say, contemplative practices can help provide distance from our own experiences, allowing us to consider them from a new vantage point. We begin to understand the source of our emotional overreaction and how particular outer and inner circumstances triggered and then amplified the dynamic. But remember, it's not about disconnecting from the world and flatlining your emotions. It's about being sensitive and yet unperturbed and centered.
And so I find it's been very helpful me in business. I started when I was 35. I've meditated ever since. It really made me much more effective as a leader because it could focus my leadership. I had clarity about what I wanted to do, and my interactions became, much calmer, and therefore I was able to draw out other people much better than I had before.
I think the biggest single report has been from my clients that they're a lot calmer and much more grounded when they have to face stressful situations or have to make decisions or choices in life that previously maybe would have produced some stress and anxiety. The second most common report is that they say that it helps them prepare for a situation where they have to perform quite well, whether it's a meeting or a presentation or something that requires their performance. Some of my clients now, what they're doing is they're doing a mini meditation prior to going into that meeting or performance or presentation, and they're saying, you know what, I do a lot better when I do that.
Meditation and anything spiritual actually is completely complementary to whatever we do in the material world, in business per se. I think all that it is giving you is a strong moral compass. We talk about the 3 lenses in LCA, we talk about a lot of these things. But the beauty of meditation is it's a practical way of developing a very high amount of understanding, sensitivity and awareness of ethics. And I think in the long term, whether you want, shareholder value is linked to the value you add to society. And I think the value you add to society depends on your ethical practices, especially if you're thinking of creating long-term value. So I think if meditation gives you discipline, if it gives you focus, if it gives you a strong ethical compass, it gives you the ability to work better with people and to be more sensitive to their needs, all of those are actually attributes and skill sets which help you in the business world.
So as we begin to observe this phenomenon more and more, I don't know if we realize how much time in our little pie chart of all those activities we're doing, a lot of the time our mind is thinking about how things should not be that way or somebody else should not be that way. Doesn't it? Yes? It happens, right? And it creates a lot of strain in our mind. So the ability to be able to just recognize, oh, you know what? Okay, I'm not accepting the situation as this. Now what will I do? What happens is that present moment comes back. And then you're able to respond rather than react.
Deborah Knox, a Stanford MBA and marketing communications professional who is now focused on leadership development and social innovation, says, meditation makes me comfortable with being uncomfortable. Then there are fewer situations that I need to avoid and change. I become so broad-minded that I can meet whatever is going on and not push away or resist it.
The other thing that's missing from your list, just to give you a 6th comment, is this theme of creativity. Mm-hmm. Where does the new come from? So there you are as a business leader. You can be self-aware, you can be focused, you can have tolerance, you can be emotionally objective. All those are really wonderful attributes, but you need vision, right? You need to be able to draw in the future. You need to be able to, as Otto Scharmer talks about it, presence the future. That's a practice, actually. That's a contemplative practice. It needs to have, or you need to already have those previous qualities of character that you're talking about, the self-awareness, focus, and so forth. Those become a kind of platform that's stable, onto which you can then presence what the future is bringing. And a real leader, I think, a real leader, not just a competent manager, but a real leader needs not only these baseline dimensions, but they also need to be able to pull in through small indications that they might be drawing in from the environment or through their own kind of pondering what it is that the future is calling for.
There there are some people who say that the rest that you get from meditation is equivalent to many hours of deep sleep for the mind. Not that you would replace sleep with meditation. Don't get any ideas. The body still needs sleep, but you might find that it will affect your sleep. And the main thing is it's a different source of energy than sleep. We talked about the four sources, right, of energy. One was food and one was sleep. And we know how much that if you get a really good night of sleep, that your next day is totally impacted well, right? Yes? You know that if you have really good sleep, which is rare, right, you have a better day. But if our sleep is compromised, our rest is compromised, you notice that our day activity is also compromised. And so in the same way, meditation has another effect on our mind, yeah? A different effect than just sleep. And if sleep has that much effect, then imagine when you meditate. It's so powerful. What it does, the clarity, and somebody talked to me about focus when we were on the break, clarity, focus, awareness, and being more in tune with what's important to us as well. It's really quite beautiful. So there's this constant balance of rest and activity. Because you notice that also the way I just said, if you don't have good rest, that your activity is compromised. But have you also noticed that if you don't have good activity, your rest is compromised? Do you notice that? Like, let's say you're lethargic all day long when you're just watching TV and you like order in and you barely move and you nap and then you all day long, and then you go to bed, then you find your rest is restless. Your sleep is restless. So rest and activity go hand in hand. It's just like that bow and arrow. If you pull a bow at this much and it just falls, right? But if you draw all the way in, then it has such clarity and focus. So meditation is starting to honor that. Practicing these practices, breathing, meditation, it's honoring that very, very natural, innate balance that's supposed to be there in our lives of rest and activity.
I just find meditation's the most efficient and effective means for me. So I meditate 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night. It gives me a lot more energy because I'm calm, and actually my days I get worn down. It used to be in the old days, I was practically falling asleep at 8:30 or 9 o'clock. If I go meditate at 6:30 or so, then it gives me energy to go to midnight and be very effective at what I do. Have clarity about what I'm trying to do, and efficient, and not worry about all the trivial, all the things that come through your mind in your day.
One of the earliest companies to try out meditation was Montgomery Company, a Detroit-based chemical manufacturing firm. R.W. Montgomery introduced transcendental meditation for stress management throughout the company in 1983, and within 3 years, 52 out of 70 workers were meditating for 20 minutes before they came into work, and 20 minutes on company time. Absenteeism fell by 85%, injuries declined by 70%, and productivity rose 120% during that period of time. From reading the state of contemplative practices in the U.S., we learned that in addition to well-documented stress reduction benefits, interviewees also reported a renewed sense of commitment to work, improved workplace communication, and an increased ability to deal with organizational challenges. In addition, they spoke about how these practices enhance their personal relationships with friends, families, co-workers, and significant others. Lastly, a project coordinator from Monsanto that underwent the meditation program at the firm said, "Contemplation helps clear all the chatter that goes on constantly in your head, and you begin to find out what's real for you in your life. What makes this program so great is that it can affect long-term evolution in individuals, and therefore in the organization. It has provided me with more purpose and meaning to what I'm doing at work." So you've heard about the benefits of meditation from business personalities around the world. Let's hear about its benefits from Harvard Business School students who participated in our 3-day intensive TLEX program and weekly meditation series titled An Appointment with Yourself. Weekly meditation, 13 weeks, 13 sessions every Tuesday night. Simple breathing techniques and a 20-minute guided meditation. We had 2 to 15 participants per week. Here's what some of them had to say.
So So this was actually my first time doing meditation, especially so frequently, and I really enjoyed it because I thought it was an opportunity every week to sort of step back from everything that was going on with school and recruiting and all, everything else, like all the other extracurriculars, and it was really just an opportunity to kind of relax and think clearly about what was going on in my life, and just sort of time that I had for myself. And I left every time feeling really refreshed almost, and I was just ready to attack everything else that was going on in my life. And I can see that feeling and that sort of clarity being really helpful when I start working and professionally, just as a way to cope sort of with the stress and forces going on around us.
So I've never done meditation before until I started doing this weekly sessions. And for me, to be honest, when I look Tuesday morning on my calendar and I see that the meditation is there, that actually gets me excited and happy. And I know that I start very quickly looking forward to this, where I can take a step back in our very busy schedules here and actually spend the half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour here, literally immerse in my own thoughts and try to make sense of what I'm doing and do some sort of a quick soul searching.
So for me, meditation has two main benefits in my life. The first is patience, and the second is identifying and dealing with fear. So for patience, I sometimes recognize the signs of impatience or annoyance growing in me. So for example, I was in traffic the other day and I noticed my shoulders starting to clench, and I started to sweat and feel like I'm wasting my time. And with my meditation practice, I'm able to recognize that I am wishing away the moment, and I'm not actually just being there and being okay with the moment. And I'm able to actually physiologically change my reaction and take a deep breath and say, this is fine, this is okay the way it is. And I'm able to actually be in the moment and not be stressed. The second main benefit I found with meditation practice is recognizing and dealing with fear. And with meditation, I realized that 1 ounce of fear of, I'm not going to finish this paragraph, I'm not going to finish this paper, led me to overeating, and being worried I'm not going to get a job, or not going to be able to provide for myself in the future. So you just realize when you actually think about that out loud, or say that out loud, how ridiculous that is. And meditation has allowed me to bring that back and say, I am feeling fearful right now because of this paper, and what I'm going to do is just focus on this paper and get it done.
The TLEX program for transformational leadership. 3 days, 3 hours per day, and 38 participants from the Harvard Business School and the Harvard Education School. Of that group, 100% thought it would be a good investment of time, and 90% said it would be a useful addition to the existing school curriculum, that it helped increase their energy levels, that the course increased their ability to manage multiple responsibilities, enhance their clarity of mind, and help them stay focused on the job at hand.
I found this experience to be really transformational, even if it was just for 3 hours for 3 days. These are things that I think about, I should be doing, I should be more aware, and I should be more attentive, and I should be more present, but it's hard when you have the everyday hustle and bustle of school. So I can see this really being something that's going to be beneficial for me when I'm actually out there in the field, where it's going to be even more hectic, and hustle and bustle is going to be multiplied by 1,000. So this has been just a great experience to understand me and to really know the pieces and the simplicity of what it means to be present and aware.
I'm really grateful for the workshop. I found myself before the workshop trying to cram my schedule with as many things as possible, and found that the pace of HBS didn't allow me to really focus and prioritize amongst family, friends, school, and myself. After the workshop, I feel as though I have tools that help me remember, prioritize, and practice just controlling my schedule and my breath. And in practicing the techniques, I feel a certain level of calm throughout my day, and it's just really given me something to feel confident about.
I found this very calming to my daily life. I've been keep practicing ever since the TLX program ended, and it gave me like peace in mind and great focus and extra energy.
So our final recommendation, after reading over 30 books and articles,
after interviewing over 20 business personalities,
and clocking in over 100 hours of meditation this semester, is just try it.